Are you an Australian out there in your mid to late 20s and wondering, how the hell am I gonna buy a house in Australia? Well, I've been there. You're watching Phil Panner. I'm gonna take this Jimny for a drive and we're gonna talk about it. Before we get into the meat and potatoes, this is my second channel, hence why it is Phil Panner Extra. If you like car stuff and motorcycle stuff, then Phil Panner is the place to be. That's where I do all my automotive content and shorts. So now that that's out of the way, let's talk about the topic of buying a house in Australia for a young person. Now, before even considering buying a house, you need to understand houses in general in terms of their prices and what you're going to expect. A unit or apartment is probably going to be where you're at if your budget is $300,000 to $400,000. It is not going to get you a lot of space, but it is going to get you in a house. And most units, they're going to be either built brand new or they're going to be quite old. Honestly, I prefer the older ones. They're built better. Mainly if you're in the city, you'll be looking at high rises. When it comes to a $500,000 budget to buy a house, that's when you're looking at townhouses or houses with land but really far away. Looking at around 900 to a million, that's when you're buying house and land relatively close to the CBD, wherever you live. And keep in mind, these are Melbourne prices. So in Australia, it's going to differ by state. If you live in Sydney, it's very expensive. It's going to be very different. If you live in Adelaide or Perth, it's going to be a bit cheaper from my understanding. So you have to look at your state and understand what that looks like for you. So I'm basically just generalizing when I'm talking about houses in Melbourne. So when you're looking at buying a house, what do you need to consider? Well, obviously your house deposit is important, but there are other things that people don't consider, which is LMI, lender's mortgage insurance. And I'll come back to that because that one's important. Stamp duty. Stamp duty is expensive. It is the government taxes that you have to pay when you purchase a house. I'll give you an example. I purchased a house for $900,000. Our stamp duty was $50,000 or $60,000 that I had to cough up, as well as the house deposit. So you need to consider those when buying a house. And lastly, you're going to be looking at fees for your conveyancer, your legal rep, whoever's representing you, as well as other small fees to consider when moving in. Sometimes you have to pay for council rates, depending on when you move, or any other small expenses that add up. Lender's mortgage insurance, what is it? It's mainly a thing to consider in Australia. I don't know if it exists in other countries, but it is a banking fee. It's not a fee that you have to pay. You can avoid it. But if you are going to be purchasing a house with a minimal deposit compared to your house price, the bank will take out an insurance to protect themselves in case you default. It's called lender's mortgage insurance for the bank. It is not for you, it is for the bank, and it doesn't benefit you in any way. You want to avoid it because it's dead money. And yes, stamp duty is also dead money, but you can't avoid that one. Lender's mortgage insurance is normally charged by the bank if you have a deposit less than 20%. So when thinking about your house that you want to buy, you're probably going to want to aim for a 20% or more deposit. And if you do end up going into a purchase with a small deposit, less than 20%, and you pay that lender's mortgage insurance, in the future, unless your equity allows you, or if you bring your mortgage down to a certain amount, you might have to pay that lender's mortgage insurance again if you wanted to move banks. So you're kind of stuck. Now there is a little bit of a trick. If you work at a bank, 9 times out of 10, one of the perks is that you don't have to pay lender's mortgage insurance. So in our case, we looked at a 10% deposit. We didn't have to pay that insurance because we worked at the bank. And although all our lending is with the bank that we work at, and we also got discounts on rates, if you wanted to go down that route, or if you already work at a bank, look at what your opportunity is to take advantage of those perks. So if you're looking at a new career path, and that's something that is really important to you, getting into a new house or getting into a house in general, then if finance is your go-to anyway, maybe consider banking, because there are a lot of perks that come with it and you need a roof over your head. So getting some perks with your house purchase is a no-brainer if you're already looking in that industry anyway. Now, in a previous video, I went through all the steps on how you can save up and whatnot, and that if you want to go back to that video, you're more than welcome to, because I already drained that topic of what you need to do to get the good job, save up and whatnot. I didn't go into that much detail, but I haven't had any requests to yet. In my case, we saved the money over 4 years. Now, in order to do that, we had to cut our costs heaps. We stayed home, we cut costs to the bare minimum. No buying clothes, no random shopping. We ate in, we cooked all our food. We had to learn that one quickly. We wanted to get out of the house. We wanted to live on our own. We didn't want to be at home anymore. And interest rates were also low, so we wanted to take advantage of it. Keep in mind, interest rates play a massive part on whether you're going to be able to afford that house or not, because borrowing power is really important. Borrowing power is all dependent on your salary. If your salary is low, you've got a low borrowing power. So you have to make it up with a deposit. But if you got a higher salary, then you can borrow more. In our case, there was low interest rates and we were worried that the interest rates were going to go up, and they did. So we did get to buy when the interest rates are low. Now, interest rates are dropping. So you might be in a similar situation where you now want to consider your options, because if the interest rates drop to a reasonable level, your salary can now get you more for a short period of time. And there are some risks with that, so you need to have the money behind you like we did. In 4 years, we managed to scrape together just over a $200,000 deposit, and it was enough to pay for the house, the stamp duty, we didn't obviously pay LMI because we got it waived, and all the other fees involved, and we had a tiny bit left over in that case. And keep in mind, interest rates being low, we relied a lot on borrowing. So we had a 10% deposit that we put in. Now let's start from the beginning on where that journey started for me for that 4 years. Now, I was on a very standard mediocre salary. It was under the median wage. Median Australian income is around $80,000 to $90,000. I was earning around 70, but I could get commissions. I was in a sales role. I had to learn very quickly to cut my costs and save, because I started with $0. I was very stupid with my spending. I didn't really do the right thing for myself at a young age. I was spending every dollar that I earned. I went on holidays and all that, and that's fine. You're allowed to have fun, but I went probably a bit too crazy with it, and I ended up spending all my money year on year and had nothing to show for it. And that's why I got really invested in doing the complete opposite so I can better myself. The first year started with saving everything, not going out, being a bit boring, until we figured out that you can go and ride a bike and have fun, and you don't have to spend heaps of money to enjoy your time. I looked at what I owned to start with, as well as trying to save more money, because savings on its own on a 70K income, even when you're living at home, it's not a lot. You need more. I had a lot of assets because I had been wasting my money over the years, and I was trying to downsize. So I took a look at everything that I owned, and I started to put price tags on things. In the first year, I probably sold around 30, 40 grand worth of shit. The first year of savings wasn't that much. So the selling of assets is what really did it for me. Have a look at what you've got. Now, I do regret selling my car. It was a Honda S2000. I'm quite upset that I did that. But then again, if I didn't sell that car, I probably wouldn't have had the house deposit. So that's the reality. Years later, I still have regrets, but what can you do? You got to make decisions. And if you can keep your nice car that you want to have with you in the future, then try and work harder to save up. But in the case of myself, that 70K salary wasn't going to cut it. So I invested in myself to try and get a better job, to try and increase my salary over those 4 years. And I did. Every year I had a pay increase, whether I changed industries from sales to banking. Every single year I worked my ass off and I took up extra shifts where I could. Fast forwarding to the bank, there was ability to work overtime. If you worked on the weekends, you get double time or time and a half, whatever that scenario was for me. And I guess in the pandemic, I had a lot of time. So I put my hand up to work literally every single weekend. And that money added up. Like, that was a large chunk that was able to be earned and saved. So if you have the ability to increase your wage, and I did speak about it in the last video, do it. Try and increase your wage. Take up extra shifts in this period of time. Try and get a better job. Aim for that promotion. Ask your boss for more money. Do whatever you can to get more money in your pocket and save. And if you don't ask, you won't know. Obviously, you need to be working hard. You don't just ask for more money and do the same job. You need to convince your boss why you're worth more and you're going to do more for the company kind of thing. Now, over that 4 years, I did manage to save enough for the house deposit, but it did help having my fiance on the same track and also with the same drive. It was a team effort. And if you're doing it solo, it just means that you're probably going to have to buy a cheaper house. And it's still possible. Like, a house is a house. That's what people want. I know everyone wants bigger and better things, but if you can just get a house in this country, you're already in front. If it's an apartment, that's still okay. It is what it is. You can only get what you can afford, and it's good enough. Now, having a dual income and another person working on deposit helps so much. It's a big difference when it comes to buying a house. And that I was blessed to have that. Finding a partner or my soulmate quite early in life, we were able to do this together. But if you're on your own, then you do what you can do. And the journey is still the same. Now, when we're talking about the lending, it's really important to get it right. Do not pull out a credit card in your young age. Do not take out a personal loan, and don't use those buy now, pay later apps, because that could be the difference between you getting the lending and you not getting the lending. I'm being serious when it comes to lending. I never had lending up until my mortgage. I've never had a credit card up until last year. But up until then, I was against credit cards. I was against lending because I understood how it worked and I didn't want to put myself in a trap. In that case, try your best, if you have lending, to get rid of it as soon as you possibly can. Pay that stuff off before you do anything else. You want to be debt-free, completely debt-free. And if you do have any debt concerns, or if you do have a bad history of debt in the past, this may impact your ability to get lending. It's unfortunate if that's you and you didn't know, but that's the reality. You may not get your lending if you're a risk to the bank. So you definitely want to be 100% cautious when taking out lending for anything that's not a property. So if you're looking at unsecured lending, which is credit cards, which is personal loans, you need to reconsider your options. So a lot of people don't know this, but in Australia, our system works very different. America, it seems like you need to have a credit card to build up your credit history. In Australia, that's a myth. You don't need to do that. You're actually better off having no credit card at all and no debt in the past than having any debt at all. If you have a clean credit history, the bank likes you more. If you have a credit card and a good history, then that's fine. But most people who are young that get credit cards don't have a good history. They just don't understand how it works and they don't meet the repayments and they try and really blow out the limit. And those buy now, pay laters also can really stuff you over. It doesn't seem like it could, but I'm telling you it can. I've seen the banks reject people from just mishaps with those buy now, pay later stuff. I've never used them in my life. If you don't have the money, don't bloody buy something. If you're at home like I was, I had no need for debt because I just saved for when I needed to buy things. I didn't need to stuff around. Now, also, children is another thing that the bank looks at. The more children you technically have, the harder it is to get lending. And I know that sounds really bad, but that's just how it is. When you have dependents, your expenses are seen as higher than someone who doesn't have dependents. I'm not going to touch on that because that is a personal decision. So if you do have children, make sure you have some more savings behind you. And talking about savings in general when buying a house, you have to demonstrate that you are saving. The bank will look at this. You can't just say you're saving, but then every month your account is staying the same. If your account is not increasing month on month, then your bank is not going to consider you as someone who is a low risk. Your bank might even ask questions of why are you saying you're saving, yet you're really not on paper. So it is important to start building a habit of putting away money and not touching it unless you really need to. If you need to, have an emergency account, have a savings account. Never touch your savings account. Only touch your emergency account. Now, the way I did this is I split my incomings and outgoings in a way where money was automatically sent from my income account to my savings account to my emergency account. And those accounts, some of them were locked and you can actually hide accounts in your portfolio. And I highly suggest you should do that. If you're the type of person where you think you're just going to touch it because you see a lot of money, then hide the account. Ring the bank and get them to hide it for you so you can't just unhide it when you feel like it. That's a really important step for some people who just really can't help themselves. Those are sort of the simple things that I did to get into a house earlier. And without my partner, I would have still bought a house. I just would have opted in for a cheaper house than what we ended up with. Now, I really hope that this has helped someone out there to start your journey on buying a house, because the reality is it's not impossible. It really isn't. If you want to know more about the income and the salary and whatnot, I did talk about it in a previous video, so you're welcome to check that one out. But I'm more than happy to expand on anything that I've discussed in this video. So do leave a comment below. I do read all of them and I will answer your questions. This is about helping people, so I'm really happy to put this stuff out, and I'm happy that I'm getting some engagement as well on my second channel. So that is going to be it for this video. I think I've covered as much as I could possibly think of, so you're welcome to leave a comment if you want to know more. I will respond to your comments and I'm more than happy to help out. If you like motorcycles and cars, do check out my main channel, Phil Panner. That's where I really focus all my time on. But otherwise, have a great day and I'll see you in the next video. And make sure you follow my channel so you can keep up to date with all my new videos. Thanks.